Teresa went with you?
hmm It was the Penhurst Paracon.
Oh, yeah. So you talked about the property. There are 18 buildings?
hmm 18 buildings. They're renovating a lot of them right now. Some of them are really, really unsafe. It's amazing. It's like it came out of like the show Lost.
Mm-hmm.
The buildings are just really old and dilapidated. So it was interesting.
They only let people in, I think, a certain number of the buildings that are even usable, that aren't too dangerous, I
Right.
think.
When we were there was one building that they let us go in, and it was just there was one tour that they had that day.
Mm-hmm.
So because of it was wet and dangerous.
Oh, yeah. So did Teresa, is she a believer or a skeptic? What do you
She's a
think?
believer.
She's a believer.
Yeah.
So two believers going to this place that, do you have any idea how many people died at this location?
Um, I I don't. I don't know how many people died, but I can tell you when Teresa went with me, she
Mm-hmm.
was just she went with me because she thought it would be interesting. But ever since then, she's been really interested in things like that.
Hmm.
Um, the whole way up there, it's a couple-hour drive.
Oh, yeah.
The whole way up there, she was complaining about a headache. Once we got out of the car on the grounds, she said her headache went away. We walked around, did our thing, and then we went off the grounds to go to lunch again, and she had her headache again.
Wow.
And then when we came back, she didn't have the headache again. It was so she was definitely feeling like there was something.
Something. How about when you guys left to come home?
Uh,
Did she experience a headache when she left at the end of the day, or?
I don't. Well, we didn't go. We stayed in a hotel that night.
Oh, okay.
I believe she did have the headache after
So
that at the
seems like
hotel.
something wanted her there on the
Yeah.
property and
I mean, it
didn't want her
really
to
sucked her
leave.
in
Right.
because she just was like, oh, well, this will be cool. But as soon as she walked in,
Yeah, because she's not
she
really
was
into the
amazed.
paranormal, but
Mm-mm.
now she wants to go to more and more of these locations.
Yes.
And so you just went in a couple of the buildings?
Well, we went into a couple of buildings and they took us on a tour around some of the different places. And then around some of the buildings that were really dilapidated, you couldn't go in, but
Hmm.
it was very interesting.
You took a lot of pictures, I
I
take
did.
it.
I did.
Did you catch anything paranormal in your pictures?
No,
Anything that you think?
unfortunately. But when
No?
we were there, we were above a tunnel, and when we were looking over towards the buildings that were farthest away, when I looked over, there was something in the window on the top floor. It was just black. I couldn't tell what it was. Um, and I asked her to look. I was freaking out. I was just like, "Oh my God, look, there's something in the window." And she's like, "There's nothing in the window." And then when I turned back around, it was gone. But there
Hmm.
really was something in there.
So you
So
think you saw a ghost? You think you saw some kind of spirit or
I
something?
think so.
And this was during the day,
hmm
the con. So what kind of things did they have at the convention?
They have different tables with the different organizations. They had one that you could test the equipment and play with it.
Hmm.
Um, and just,
I hear it was packed. I hear it was
it
tons of,
was, and it rained,
and it
but
rained
everybody
too.
was still there.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it's
it was hot.
hot, so it was humid too, huh?
Yeah.
So, do you know what the general claims are about this place, like the paranormal stuff?
I know that they used to use the tunnels for the people who passed away so that the other residents or
Right, so they wouldn't see
yeah,
that
so
somebody
they
passed
wouldn't
away.
see somebody rolling somebody out.
Yeah, because that would be hard to,
Yeah.
you're going, okay, am I next kind of
Yeah.
thing. So the tunnel is
The
very
tunnel
haunted.
seems to be very haunted. They did talk about doing the haunted house every year in
Mm-hmm.
October. Um, and they've used a lot of the others, like the hospital beds and
Mm-hmm.
the stuff they used for to eat, the bowls and everything. They used a lot of that we weren't able to see.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they make it look really authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually met a guy who wrote a book. He used to work there, and that was very interesting. It has a lot of good information in it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I met a woman, I think her Tamara Lawrence, who wrote 2 books about Pennhurst. And when I went to the last convention, she gave me a couple of her books. So I don't know if she worked there or not, but she definitely had stories to tell.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it was horrible.
Again, Pennhurst is one of the top 5 or top 10 most haunted places in the country.
I can see why. They had a list, they had a poster that was in the gift shop, and it gave some of the reasons why people were there. If a husband got tired of his wife, he would just drop her off with the kids and get rid of her.
Wow, that's horrible.
It could be anything.
Yeah, simple things that normally
Down
we wouldn't
syndrome,
do that today.
Kids with Down syndrome, people would just drop them off.
Oh, that's horrible.
The silliest stuff. That's really unbelievable.
Yeah, I've seen some of those lists and so on. So when you were there, do you feel like you said Teresa was experiencing headaches? Did you feel like you experienced anything paranormal?
I felt a really heavy presence while I was there, but nothing other than that. Just a really heavy presence, like it was weight on me, weighing me down.
Did it feel negative?
No,
at all?
No.
Just maybe a heavy sadness, maybe?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Gloominess, maybe, from when you were there. And then Teresa was experiencing the headaches.
Yes.
So that's kind of irritating, too, when somebody's like, I got a headache, let's go eat, or you don't know what it's about. I actually have the same thing happen to me when I experience a negative object. I get headaches. Most recently, I got these pair of earrings, and there's a story behind them, but they're not the ones I'm wearing, but they're haunted, and there's a long story about them. But when I held them, I got a headache. When I put them down, I didn't. When I held them again, I got a headache. So I know there's something there. I definitely don't want to wear them because I will have a headache.
Right.
So, that spirits interact with us in so many different ways. You just never know how we're going to pick up on them, whether they're going to make us sick, the headache, the feeling of like depression because of what they went through. I'm sure there's a lot of sadness there. No hope.
I do have, getting back to an experiences, I guess.
Yeah.
We go to a cottage, our family cottage, every year usually. And I took a friend there one time. She said she could hear people talking. When we walked in, she said some really nice little old lady said, "Oh, she brought a visitor," things like that. And they would keep her up at night talking. And I mean, I'm guessing those are my relatives.
Where's this at? Just general?
In Massachusetts.
It's in Massachusetts. No wonder. There's so much history up there.
My mom is actually a wing, which is one of the first. Stephen Wing was on during the Mayflower.
Oh, wow.
So
that's great.
And they have the oldest house on Cape Cod is there. I've been in there, and it feels heavy in there too, because a lot of them have lived there over the years. So
yeah, so you didn't have too much of an experience at Pennhurst, but you got to remember, you're at a convention, tons of people around, and you don't know who they're drawn to.
Yeah,
it's just so much going on. You really need to sit somewhere in the dark,
right,
quiet, and just pay attention to the subtleties. It's very hard.
It was very eerie.
Yeah, I mean, I go to a lot of events like that, and a lot of public ghost hunts and so on, and you're really not going to experience too much. There's too much contamination and other stuff going on.
I agree.
But then, like you said, so have you been back to this cottage and experienced anything else?
I've been back, but I don't ever experience anything like that. I mean, I always feel like that's where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
But other than that, I don't ever hear anything or see anything.
Well, that's kind of good in a way, because I experience stuff like every other day.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you, Mary, for coming tonight.
You're welcome.
And we're going to have to wrap this up.
Okay.
We'll have you back for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So thank you for watching the Evermore Paranormal Network. I hope you enjoyed the show. Until next time, peace out.
So in the end, what have I said is only that I'm sure. For all I know about this place is that I call it Evermore.